invite Ms. DEBRINA from Waft slash Lifepatch Hackteria with a topic on Makerspace and social control.
Okay.
Applause.
Thank you for coming. Maybe it's quite nice if we sit like in the round so we can like more discuss feeling. So what I'm gonna presenting today is it's like a more sharing what happened in Indonesia, the term of Makerspace in Indonesia, and how this Makerspace become a social control. So this is the maker movement in global and around the world. But what about in Indonesia? So the government back in 1960 have the Makerspace for housewife. So this is the Makerspace for housewife, and they call it with what they call it with is PKK, Pembinaan Kesejahteraan Keluarga, which means development for family welfare. And the background why they built this, the government created this group of Makerspace for women is because these women, to controlling women groups. So before 1960, there is a group of women, Gerwani, the Indonesian women movement, that are very vocal, and they can have like 1 million members around Indonesia in just less than 5 years. And what they want is the equality of gender equality, and then also about the child. And they want to say that women is not only women can be the partner of the man, not only the supporter behind the man, but they can be beside the man and have the same power as the man. So the government in 1960, the regime of dictator Suharto, is really want to control this women group because he knows that the power of women groups is really big. And then they created this kind of group, Makerspace group, housewife, that he said that women should back to the kitchen. Women should do their faith that they are a housewife in the house, not outside the house. So actually their program is actually really good, though they have a background is not very good, but the program itself is really good. They help women to making food, workshop every week in the public space. They created, like in each district we have a public space which government has built it, and every week these women can come to the public space and having a workshop, training about making food or making clothes, or maybe like this farming, gardening, sewing, and making craft. Also they collaborate with other group. This one is environment group. They make the paper pulp craft. But then if you see that the Makerspace as a social control, then we see that they're trying to make this space to control the women. They want the women get the idea that women, yes, I have to do this, only these things. Maker for me is related to what a housemaker thinks. But actually in Indonesia we are not only have the PKK, which is for housewife, we also have independent kids Makerspace. We call it with Sanggar. If you Google it, Sanggar means studio. But I think studio is more individual feeling rather than Sanggar is actually a communal. So this is for the kids. they're making craft. And the good things in Sangha is they have a sense of belonging with the Sangha. So if you join this Sangha, you want to make like so we have like a competition between each Sangha, and if you join this Sangha, you will like have a proudness that, oh, I'm joining this Sangha. This kind of feeling. And maybe that's what I want to say today, but my friends from Surabaya.
Oh, Surabaya.
Yeah, Caroline, she talked to me that in Surabaya we have the biggest red district in Southeast Asia. The red district. Used to be have the red district, the biggest in Southeast Asia, but now it's closed. And there is a one that big what do you call it?
Digital.
They converted it.
Space, so they say for digital learning. But it was good. Basically, they replaced what used to be the biggest sex workers' house and closed it down and changed it into digital and technology learning space.
So yeah, maybe the social control still here in Indonesia, even in the Sanctuary.
How did it change from that sort of like red light district into that technology like a hub? You say, when was this happening?
They forcefully closed the location. They have tried to close it for some years, but last year it was completely, before the Ramadan. Before Ramadan it was forcefully closed. And then previously, if you there are some information behind this, right? So if you do some payment, then you are allowed to still operate. But then last year it was completely eradicated. And then somehow all the spaces, we don't know how the ownership dealings happen and who gets the ownership of the property. But one of the biggest we call it Wisma, the biggest house that the most famous house that has these sex workers it's called Tony, the area. It has been opened as a digital and technology learning space, but at the level of kampung level. So I also wonder about kind of how can you turn a red light district in kind of like less than 1 year into a technology space without considering, say, university or the proper infrastructure. We don't even have proper speed internet. But compared to Singapore, say, our internet is very slow, right? So I think it's just there are so many vested interests and rank-seeking projects here. So yeah, in a way, it's still happening, and I guess it's happening as well.
So what interests me is that I've heard about PKK. I mean, the movement of women movement to do creative things, but I never really thought that it's kind of a maker movement. And when I see it closely, yeah, it's simply the same. And what interesting is that even that we heard the term makers just these last 10 years or maybe these 5 years in Southeast Asia, but actually in many parts of the world there are lots of movement go way back long ago that's already a maker movement.
Yeah.
So that's okay. So I'm still confused about the term of maker, but at one time the diversity of Makerspace, even though they didn't call themselves a maker movement, it's quite very interesting.
So I thought that what the term of makerspace it's coming from America, maybe. Let's start from the Make magazine. But what I want to say now that actually I believe that each region, each country in Southeast Asia or Asia actually have their own term of makerspace. So why we just limited the makerspace is only the space or only the space that have fancy machine with the high technology machine that actually especially Southeast Asia actually is not the technology country that created that machine, the technology. We are not funded it, but we can hack. We can what we make is maybe different from this term, but we are maker. They are the maker. They are the real maker. Right. So yeah, why we just limited the makerspace is only a term of a place that have these tools only. So yeah, I want just to give another perspective that yes, makerspace is about the people who make things. Maybe anyone want to share the same kind of makers movement maybe in their country that old back then, makerspace movement.
Karang Taruna maybe. Yeah, I mean there are lots of kinds of making movement back way in Jakarta and Indonesia usually, but they always hack things. I mean, hacking is already a part of our culture. I mean, I think every kid does that. I mean, but I think what limits their creativity and hacking are our own educational system. I think because I think last year when we did a workshop with Karkana guys, and we asked kids to make crafting from bamboo, from woods. When 10 years old or 7 years old kid using knife, the people from Karkana, they're from Nepal and maybe from other countries in Western countries, they're very afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, kids using tools like that, I mean, it's a dangerous tools. But in Asia, I mean, lots of kids in Southeast Asia especially, they already use this kind of tools since early age. I mean, 5 maybe. Yeah, they always play with those dangerous things. But yeah, that's what fascinating about our culture. It's a hacking culture.
In Singapore, the culture is not so human, and there's not really that much DIY culture to begin with. I remember people hear about makers in Singapore, and maybe you guys also understand that they only see us as hobbyists. So as in beyond even social control, we don't even have that much emphasis in this DIY or in any making it to begin with. And then there are some which in community centres maybe people have classes and so on, but it's always looked down upon. Which is quite sad.
Yeah, I've heard some presentation from National Arts Center, from Arts Center, and you see that development activities are somewhat looked down or are actually designed by the government to control the movement so that they don't do drugs, they don't do blah blah. So there are some similarities there. But I think if you compare it to say Indonesia, is that one visible thing for me is that at least Singapore government seem to be, in terms of educational system, I know it's not perfect, but if you compare it to Indonesia, the government haven't really made political or economic commitment to allocate to create good education system where teachers can actually seriously have time. So it's very rare for teachers in Indonesia to be able to live only from teaching. They will have to find side jobs, right? Yes. Unless you are in really expensive private schools, but most of the time you have to have side jobs, even lecturers. So yeah, that's one thing. Shortage of knowledge workers, and also
Never heard.
Back to the topic of social control. And I was wondering that you brought across a point about makerspaces being a way to control women groups or certain groups of people. What is the situation right now? And is it applicable? Do you see that happening in makerspaces in other areas?
Actually, now because the president is already now Indonesia is more democratic. So this PKK, this group, is no longer active like before, but it's still here, it's still there, but not that active. So if before that they have like a leader, each group have a leader. So this PKK group is each city, each district has their own group, and then each group has a leader, and now it's no longer active. Okay, so yeah. Before every legacy, every policy from the government comes to the women, comes to the family from this group.
Right now, the makerspaces are still in use and the activities are still ongoing?
Actually, they have no special makerspace like the space the building, because it's the building itself, we call it balai. Balai is more like
community center?
Yeah, community center. Yeah, they also they will use this community center, having a workshop training.
And from my understanding, this usually was a former Soeharto era in 1965 to 1998. But a lot of the women who have positions, high positions, is somewhat correlated to her husbands. So if her husbands are in higher up bureaucrats, then usually the wife will also have the higher positions in PKK. So in a way, it's a way of controlling both genders.
PKK is interesting because I heard this morning, and they say that only 20% of women participate in makerspace, but this makerspace
Sounds like it's quite more.
100% only.
Again, in the definition of makerspace, basically what she's sharing is also that the definition of makerspace is actually quite varied. So in this case, it could be actually 50% women who actually use makerspaces. It's just that the technological side, we're not there.
Digital technologies.
What's the definition of makerspace?
In
In your opinion, or at least in your research that you've done to present for us, what is your definition of makerspace?
I think the makerspace is the people who meet. So when they gather together, even though they have no building, they have no the building that they rent every day, they can come. As long as they gather together, I think that's a makerspace. Makerspace, so it's not only the space, physically space, but actually it's about the people. The people. So you come from
Malaysia.
Ah.
Yeah. Tell us, okay, regarding this, because okay, number one, you say it's not constrained with space. It's true because it's always the people that make up the space. If you can find the space, it's true, it can come. But does your government like get involved and like get involved and say, okay, we should have a space or something like that? Because like last year when I went to a creative cities conference where they talk about different creative cities in different Southeast Asian countries, and there's this guy from Thailand Design Center. He was saying, hey, the government is actually like putting in money, not only for new library, for the design, for designers and all, but they're also like putting money for new makerspaces. So I'm not too sure whether in maybe a place whether the government is doing something like that. Yeah, because like I know there are some, like just now when there are people sharing, they actually have their own independent, they start their own, because like you say, it's always the people, it's not about the government trying to start. I mean, it's good that the government will fund, but most of the time you can't wait for the government. because like I was just sharing that last year I went for a creative cities conference. Then there are different designers, different creative people coming in, and this guy from Thai Design Center, he said that, oh, we're going to build like a new library, because for Thailand they say that you need to provide resources like library or whatever for your designers to work things out. And they also say that the government is actually building a new library in Chopra, the river, plus one of the rivers in Thailand, and they're also building like a makerspace. So that one is like, directly the government is like helping out. So that's why I asked you in this case, because this is like an organization, but I wasn't sure whether if the government was putting money for this.
Doesn't sound like it.
For this group,
Yeah.
the government putting money on this group.
This group, but not like a space. So that means this is what they've been planning, but
Yeah.
okay.
A lot of what happened in PKK, from what I know, the thing is with Indonesia, it's so diverse, right? Because it's actually a big country. So what happened in Java or Jakarta or one district might be very different from like what happened, say, I don't know, 100 kilometers away. So this is very unlike Singapore, because again, Indonesia is big, it's very archipelagic, so it can be very contrasting if you imagine what happened in Java and what happened in Papua. So it's very diverse. But from what I know, from some research that I've read about PKK in Java, is that it's very severely underfunded, in the sense that why you were saying that the participation rate is actually quite low. And in compared to Gerwani, PKK was very state-driven. Gerwani was the women wing of the Communist Party in Indonesia before it was sort of closed down in '65. But with PKK, from what I have read, is that it's government funded, but it's severely underfunded. So the women leaders, the one on top, actually ask other housewives to work as volunteers. Oh, yeah. So volunteers, but at the same time, you can say that it's exploited labor at the same time. In that sense, right? Because they are supposed to do community development, but they have to do it as volunteers on top of their housewife work. So there are some complaints about PKK, but at the same time, because it's state-driven, if you're not participating, then there are some.
It's not compulsory, is it?
It is.
It is compulsory.
Like
Yeah,
the compound,
the social
pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Social
social
pressure
pressure.
to join this thing.
If you are not in here, then there are higher chances that your husband will get promotions. Things like that. It's informal. It's informal, but then it's kind of very
It's an open secret.
Yeah, it works informally in that sense that then if you have all these housewives of important people, and if you're not mingling with them, then what are the chances?
That explains why just like you're saying, the higher position you are, then the wife is also
Yeah.
technically as high.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's very very good methods of social control. Informal.
So is this still happening now? I mean, I think this past 10 years the activities and the term of PKK is more less. The government has no control anymore.
Or is it because it's too big to control? So it's just less in the districts, right? So you have like, it's the same thing but yet different because you're so far. So you can implement what you want in that sense if you're in control.
That's what happens in this movement in many parts of Indonesia are different. They have their own style.
And they have the uniform that we use every time they meet.
Yeah.
So that means every time they go for gatherings, or
Gathering
they have
and
to
meeting, wearing the
okay.
It's a famous uniform during the Soeharto era. We call it safari.
Safari uniform for the women.
So, And the men have the brown version, by the
So
way.
men are also involved.
Not really involved.
But again, there's some parallel in the sense that the higher position women will be
Yes.
same.
Like the leader will give instruction from the government that you have to say about this policy or not.
Here's a question. If you have to come, is there one for just the men since you all like split it? Yeah, I just wondering if there's one for the men.
Sorry, but
You know, now that the
Yeah.
government is more the, to empower women, or what about the men? Do you have separate things like that?
no.
Okay.
For the men, we only control women and youth. Because
Oh, okay.
government understand that women and youth have the more powerful than the men.
Maybe with the men, the control system is more in the bureaucratic, civil servants way. So most of the workers, so the control is kind of in that sense.
In that, okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering because it's all about the women. So. Yeah, just curious.
Thank you very much, DEBRINA. Thank you.